I wanted to open up today's conversation with a really interesting question. Do you believe that in America to this day that there is still slavery? And your answer to that might be like, no, it was gone thanks to the Civil War and a reconciliation with the South and all of those things. But what a lot of folks don't realize is slavery still exists to this day, and you might not realize it, but you might be a slave. What does that mean? Stay tuned and I'll share with you what I mean about slavery in modern time day. How's it going? It's Eric, and as always, I'm here to help you find freedom and abundance. And in today's conversation, I wanted to talk about this concept that we call debt slavery. Now, what is debt slavery? Debt slavery, quite simply, is this entrapment of being stuck to your debt. And it's rooted in the fabric and the makeup of America. So let's talk about that a little bit more. First of all, this is a really poignant statement here. In order to understand the brutality of American capitalism, you have to start on the plantation. Now, what does that mean? Now, a lot of us, we've studied history in high school and in junior high and all that stuff, and we've realized that slavery was a fundamental part of the growth of America. It was built upon the backs of exploited workers. And while that history in the past is a dark and grim history, we've all hopefully have learned from that. And now coming to this modern era, we have these great conversations on things like income inequality and Black Lives Matter, Asian Lives Matter, and talking about all these things, gender equality, which I think is phenomenal. But underlying all of that, what I believe that many are not really addressing is this challenge of debt slavery. And no longer are people slaves to the plantation or slaves to the farm masters that own them, but many, including maybe you, might be slaves to the financial systems that are lending you money. Let's talk about that. So in the American system, just to kind of give you an idea, the average American household has about $5,000 of credit card debt, $16,000 of personal loan debt, $19,000 of auto loans for cars, $38,000 of student loan debt, $41,000 of a home equity line of credit, and $208,000 of mortgage debt, right? And this total amount is massive. I'm not going to add it up, but it's about $300,000 for an average household. And when you're looking at this, you might be saying, yeah, that sounds about right. Or you might be saying, no, that's not me. I challenge you and I invite you to look at all of the debt that you are currently holding on to right now and see who you owe that debt to. I could almost guarantee you it's someone like Visa or MasterCard, Bank of America, Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, one of those lenders or financial institutions. And what you start noticing is as you've had this debt, once you look at it and you've reconciled how much you have and who you owe it to, ask yourself, how long have I had that debt for? Or how long have I been extending this debt for? And for many folks, they've held on to a lot of this debt for a big chunk of their lives, right? So let's just take out the home loan and the HELOC stuff because that's associated with your home. And let's just look at credit cards, personal loans, student loans, auto loans. You might be saddled with this debt for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And quite often, many folks end up paying just as much, if not more, in interest as they do in the principal. There's so many news stories that come out there where you see people come on the news talking about student loans, which is a big topic today, right? This whole idea of like dissolving student loans. And you see people saying, I've had this student loan for the last 15 years and the balance on it was $40,000. That's how much I owed to the school. However, after this 10 or 15 years of paying it off or paying it down, I still owe $40,000. Where did all that money go? It went to interest. It went to all that stuff. And that is the concept of debt slavery. Like we are constantly in this rabbit hole, constantly in this constantly on this hamster wheel of trying to get ahead. And quite often, most folks are just making enough to survive, but not making enough to live. And that's why we've had these conversations on increasing the minimum wage, increasing living wages. And we're starting to see people, because of COVID, changing their priorities or what they believe about work and their life. and starting to realize what's truly important to them. Is buying more stuff important, or having more experience with your family more important? Or is your freedom more important? Or is your time more important? Or is having the Lambo more important? People are starting to reassess their values. There's a really interesting article by this guy named David Corton, and he was basically saying that debt slavery is an ancient institution that traces back to the beginning of the empire. And we know of the classic servitude, slavery type of thing where you got a guy whipping the person as they're picking cotton, cleaning the house, and all that stuff, right? And indentured servitude played a major role in the economic history of the United States. During the early colonial period, those unable to pay for passage to the New World agreed to commit to a period of indentured service for whoever was willing to take on that debt. Many young women voluntarily got married to whoever paid the captain's fee. So women effectively, in order to buy their way over, gave up their desire of pursuing a partner on their free will. Instead, they instead sold that ability to come over to the U.S. Again, they were effectively chosen, or they chose to be in this position, which was crazy. Following the Civil War, blacks were technically free, but whites owned the land and controlled the jobs which blacks depended on for survival. In a period following, etc., sharecroppers, many of you might or have recognized some of these words that pop up. In a period following World War II, full employment and high wages for working people combined with high taxes for the rich celebrated the American middle class. Notice there's a couple of things here. High wages for working people, high taxes for the rich created a growing and celebrated American middle class. This is the baby boomer era. For a historically brief period of time, high earning wages for working people, high taxes for the rich, debt slavery became a relatively rare condition, at least for white people. Then as Wall Street fundamentalists gained control, and I know this is going to go off in a little bit of a political tangent, they weakened unions, outsourced jobs, created downward pressure on wages while increasing the use of sophisticated advertising to promote more extravagant lifestyles and the use of credit card debt to finance them. Give you a story. When I was 18 and I went to college, I went to Rutgers University in New Jersey. The first year I went to the campus center, first day of school I walked in, they were giving away free t-shirts and coffee mugs. And my dad, as a refugee from Vietnam, was like, hey, people are giving stuff away, take it because it's free, right? That was like my scarcity money mindset. And so I ended up signing up for this thing, not realizing it was a credit card. Now here is an 18-year-old young man, no job, no credit, going to school for the first time. They sent me a credit card with a limit of $5,000. Easy credit, because they knew if they could get me and wean me when I was in college, they would have me as a customer for life. They treated me to a free t-shirt, a free coffee mug, which might have cost them $5, if that. And they effectively had me for a client for life. I still have that credit card to this day. 24, God, I'm old. 24 years later, I still have a credit card with the company that provided me that. And how much have I paid them in interest? Tens of thousands of dollars. Pretty good return on investment, right? So think of that. Think of that for a minute. As wages continue to fall relative to the cost of living, Wall Street promoted credit card and mortgage debt as a solution. Some people responded out of sheer desperation to put food on the table. Innocents simply bought into Wall Street's enticement to consume now, pay later. You go to Best Buy, no money down, pick up the 60-inch screen TV, take it home, pay in 12 months 0%, right? You see all these things to buy things that people really shouldn't be buying to impress people that really don't matter. You see all these low financing on cars. I live in Orange County, California, where the average person isn't driving a Honda Civic. They're driving Mercedes-Benzes, which is the craziest thing ever because I'm a red-blooded American guy. I love fast cars. But I also know that, like, you don't need a fancy car to commute from point A to point B. You're just kind of like showing off. This whole sense and rise of consumerism, what is it really doing? It's saddling people with more and more debt and making people feel more and more comfortable taking equity out of their houses, cashing out retirement plans to pay off debt to allow them to continue this cycle of debt slavery. And what's really crazy at the end of the day is, people were soon locked into ever-growing debt that they could never repay. Wall Street's take on whatever pittance they're able to earn increased, and the total share of income going to those who lived off of Wall Street's profits relative to those who did honest work basically skyrocketed. And now Wall Street, as we all know, controls the political system. They donate millions of dollars to politicians on both sides. Don't think that they just do one side. They donate to everybody. And they actively lobby against our own political interests, against our interests. And people don't realize that. And people, they get sucked into, a lot of folks out there get sucked into this like propaganda system of like, oh, we need to save the rich. We need to help the rich. We need to consume more. We need to do all these things. And we got to look this way. We have to buy into this fashion. All it is pulling us into the same hamster wheel, this same cycle that you might never be able to break out of, like this trap, right? And the end of the day is the proper goal is not to make debt slavery safer or more comfortable, right? The real goal is to eliminate debt slavery by raising the wages of working people and the taxes of the moneylenders while rethinking our approach to meeting a variety of needs to which Wall Street offers itself as a solution. Now that's a little bit of an extreme perspective. However, there are a lot of really amazing points in this person's essay. But what I think at the end of the day is what we are fundamentally missing is we're missing the understanding of financial education. We're missing the fundamental understanding of how taxes work. We're missing the fundamental understanding of how to increase our skills to increase our income. And these are things that are not taught in school. We're taught trigonometry, we're taught calculus, we're taught physics, and I absolutely love those subjects. And they work well for those in specialized fields, but not for everybody. There's a vast amount of Americans out there where, understanding AP calculus is not going to really do anything for them. I mean, I'm in the accounting world. I took AP calculus and AP physics, and I loved it. But I might have preferred taking AP taxation, because that's what I'm doing right now, or AP balancing out my checkbook, or how to avoid credit card trouble, right? These are things that I wish that I would have learned. And on top of that, knowing that we have a system that has been repressing or suppressing wages for so long. If you're looking at the minimum wage, for example, if you adjusted the minimum wage for inflation and for the increase in productivity, we should be at like $23, $24 an hour minimum wage. But yet we are arguing and bickering about $15 an hour minimum wage. So I wanted to just open up this conversation and open up this broader topic of debt slavery and let you know that there are ways out of debt slavery, but we have to control our own destiny. The banks, the existing political structure, the existing system wants us to be slaves to the system because that's how they profit. That's just really the nature of capitalism. I don't want to say there's nothing wrong because there's a tremendous amount of it wrong with it. But at the end of the day, we have to take our own personal accountability into this piece of the pie here and realize that we have to take advantage of the situation that we have, figure out ways to get out of this trap. And like Neo from the Matrix, pick the red pill or the blue pill or the green pill, whichever pill it is, and get yourself out of this trap, out of this slavery. So I just wanted to open up that topic, and I would love to hear what your thoughts are. And I know this is a controversial one, especially with the perspective that I kind of shared today. Folks that are in the political process might say it's a very leftist, socialist, agendaized conversation, but I think this is a human rights conversation, right? We all have the fundamental right to live a free and balanced life. We all have the fundamental right to be able to do what we want, where we want, with whom we want. But as long as we're trapped inside of this like debt slavery within this capitalist cycle or this capitalist system, many of us may never be able to escape that. So I would love to have your thoughts on that. Put them in the comment section below. If you agree with me, that's a great sneeze. If you agree with me or disagree with me, put them in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts. I respond to each and every single one of them. Also, if you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, little subscribe button down below. And I make new videos here, it seems like, quite often now. And I would love to see you more often as well. So the more you comment, the more your friends subscribe, the more videos I am going to make. And I would love to see you once again, my friend. With that said, again, my name is Eric. I'm here to help you find freedom and abundance. Have a great day. Take care.